Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the only podcast produced by three two-time winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. You're tuned into the Check Engine podcast. We're hosted on Anchor.fm and we are streamed worldwide on all the platforms that you use to listen to your favorites. My name is Nick. Joining me, as per usual, are my two partners in crime, Andrew and Tristan. Welcome back, guys. Tristan, happy belated birthday. How was the vacation and road trip?
I was good. We did a workcation up north, so still working, just in a more scenic locale. And then as of Wednesday last week, drive isolated our way down to Georgia, where we then stayed in our own condo away from everybody, and then went to a very well socially distanced gala that you may have seen me share about on social media. It's my sister's opera company, and basically that was an entire huge event venue with fewer than 25 people in it. So a nice, safe outdoor activity with masks required, and then the beach. This vampire did go to the beach.
You can't take a vampire to the beach.
And
what reference is that?
It's an old one.
I'll leave that to Nick. But yeah, socially distanced there was the ultimate 2020 vacation. Go somewhere and see almost no other people, but just don't be home. But it was great. It was very, very needed. That's not a slam on it. It was just a uniquely 2020 experience. So.
And did you drive your own vehicle down, or do you potentially have a rental car review for us?
Yeah, I actually posted a in the moment a rental car review photo on our Instagram, but we rented a Dodge Grand Caravan because we were also carrying down a significant amount of stuff for my sister's house down there and for the gala itself, etc. And I gotta say, minivans haul a lot of stuff, and they're potentially very comfortable for road trips. This one was, but I just cannot get over how people who need or want to buy minivans, for a while there, it seems like we're just buying anything they were given. I feel like it's changed a little bit with how hard the Pacifica and the Honda Odyssey are trying at this point. But this was a Dodge Grand Caravan, huge selling minivan for years, and it wasn't, I gotta say, it did not have the most inspiring driveline. But the thing that really, galled me, because you don't really expect too much from a minivan, but the thing that galled me is that, man, this entertainment system was from 10 years ago. and what's more, not only was just bad, was frustrating. Because we're trying to get everything all set up. We've got the phones plugged in. And, you've got the standard problem of cars from 10 years ago. For example, that you plug your phone in and, even smaller phones, not my, giant Pro Max being plugged in, it doesn't charge them. It can't. It doesn't provide nearly enough power. And there's a conveniently placed USB port right on the dashboard as part of the radio. And guess what that does?
Hooks into the audio system, surely.
No, it does nothing except charge the device.
Yes, I remember those days.
You can connect your USB audio device, including an iPod 4th generation mini video and 5th generation, which are listed in the owner's manual.
Jesus.
In the USB port in the glove box. but not
Oh,
the one,
yes.
but not the one on the radio.
I remember yes, I remember when they were doing this.
Riddle me that crap, please.
Was the style at the time?
But it did, of all things, have a 115 volt. Didn't care to tell us how many watts. Um, uh, power inverter. So actual like AC power plug, which is
Yeah.
interesting. And convenient. Charge all the doodads, and had plenty of 12 volt outlets to run the car fridge to allow us to not have to stop for anything but gas and bathroom breaks. And it's very utilitarian. It really gets the job done, but it does not do it in anything you could even approach calling style. So,
Yeah, it's a van. It's for hauling kids.
Yeah.
kids and stuff, which is exactly what this was doing, and it did that job well. But like, you could get so much more nowadays. It does show why a modern minivan would be attractive, but makes the old minivan just that much more stupefying to me as to why anybody would buy one.
Mm-hmm.
So
If you are going to go minivan, go new, is what you're saying.
Yes, if you have the need for one because you have several hams you need to take to school, or whatever, then definitely get a minivan, because I would argue that it's better than a crossover. Don't get a 3-row crossover if you have that many people. Get a minivan. That's what they're for. But
That I definitely agree with. The 3-row SUVs are ass.
Yeah. So if you need one, get one, but definitely get a new one. even if you have to take a serious interstate road trip, I would say that you'd be doing pretty well to get a minivan, if you have 3 or 4 people. But there are very limited use cases for the minivan, but in those use cases they're very, very, very useful. So
hence the name use case.
Yes.
Well, welcome back, and it's good to be recording with you guys again after 2 weeks off. Andrew, for this, we've had 2 weeks to prepare for a very intriguing topic. Why don't you let the listeners in on what we're going to be discussing today?
Oh, good. You think it's intriguing. That's good because it's some fresh stolen content.
Yes.
Now
that's how we make our bones, man.
Well, exactly. I didn't even bother to screen cap the original tweet that I stole this from, but it's from someone I follow, and I definitely liked the tweet, so it's somewhere on our account there. I would give you credit if I knew who you were. I think it's an an esteemed auto journalist, maybe, or maybe it was Rando Calrissian. Anyways, the tweet was going around a couple weeks now. What would be your dream car garage with a maximum of 12 cylinders? And I was like, oh, that's actually kind of fun, because you run the gamut, right? If you want a V10, then you got some real choices to make. If you want to fill with a bunch of 4 cylinders, you get a lot, but you also don't get that much. There's no prestige in that, right? So I thought, all right, that's
real quick. Let's be clear. When you say a bunch of 4 cylinders, you mean 3?
A gaggle of them, yes. Listen, it's more cars than you can drive at one time, so it's a bunch.
That is true.
So it's a bunch.
Therefore, so I thought, all right, that's fun, but all right, 1 isn't enough. And I was trying to think of a bunch of other essentially caps that you could put on the dream car garage. So we came up with, we got the 12 cylinder, and we also got, what's your dream car garage with 1,000 horsepower max?
You can take this so many different ways.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was interesting. That one I'm actually more excited for because it started in kind of a weird place for me and ended up in a little bit of a weirder place. But
you can have a Bugatti or 15 smart cars.
Exactly. 15.
Yeah, spoiler for the conclusion on mine. I determined that.
No, don't spoil it.
No, hold on. Just I determined that horsepower is not a big determining factor for me because that dream garage was easier to fill for me than the cylinder dream garage. So that's just just a teaser, just to draw people in.
Because you want an R8 and then you only got 2 cylinders left.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Or you have none if you
just get a bunch of rotaries and
because then you'd have to get something 2-cylinder. So yeah.
Right. So looking forward to that. But before we get into that, does anybody have any quick hits, neat car news, quick news tidbits, anything like that we need to get off of our chests?
I don't.
I have one.
All right. Go for it.
The new Hummer EV has officially broken cover. They announced it back in February, but they at least have a mock-up that they can show us now.
Is this a mock-up or is this like the actual?
Well, I mean, it's from GM. I don't know if it moves. None of the pictures show it driving. So that's what I'm saying.
Sorry, I just found a hot, sexy new important news article, but continue.
But yes, there are some lofty goals. 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, off-road capability, 100 miles of range in 10 minutes, and quote, a host of new technologies. And it's going to be $112,000+.
Okay, all right.
Why?
Down to 80 in the springs of 2024 and 90 in 2023.
Why even say that off the bat? Like, if you're interested and you can save $20,000, just wait 2 years.
Because they're just trying to drive pre-sales. They're trying to drive pre-sales. And I don't know. I want to have Loaf back on because I need someone who's smart about money and cars to explain to me, A, whether or not Tesla is merely paying previous investors with money from new investors, and B, to help me figure out why the fuck in the middle of a historic global recession, all of these companies, all these startups, and now big companies are pumping out $100,000 cars, $60,000 cars, $50,000 cars, and not blinking an eye, cutting the lower models. There is no and I've been saying this for years now, there's no conceivable way it's sustainable. They're not even feigning an attempt, most of these companies, at creating a car that's going to be affordable for people who already don't have jobs. What the fuck is happening?
Leases, just locking people in leases,
and 12-year loans.
Yeah,
but people are going to default on those too. The payments. Then
they'll just get the car back and sell it to somebody else. They don't care.
Oh my god, it seems so. Well, all right. Here's what I'll say about it. Wildly shifting tack, because I can't process that. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I feel like I've already seen this movie. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm just coming from the mind of an auto exec, like Tristan said. We just get the car back and sell it to somebody else. So from the auto exec point of view, I don't understand your problem.
But I mean, that's not really how it works. And if they need further proof of that, think about the bailouts that they took. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm the only person that remembers this happening. Maybe it's the Mandela effect, right? Maybe no American auto companies got a huge bailout after an economic recession. Maybe that didn't actually happen, but I think it did. And in the event that it did, why are they doing the same thing now? But
your guess is as good as mine.
In like the not to sound, Communist Manifesto about it, but like in the terminal late stage capitalism way, where they're cutting all low price options and forcing at the expense of all else the premium tier. I mean, list and name the cars that GM had 3 years ago that cost more than $100,000. There was one trim of one car.
It was the CTSV, wasn't it?
Oh shit, I forgot about the CTSV. CTSV,
Yeah,
I was thinking a ZR1.
And the ZR1.
There are not $100,000 Escalades, are there?
I'm wondering. That was a question.
Like, okay, so 2 then. CTSV, yes. And ZR1, definitely.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's only now catching my eye because it's electric powered cars, but God, I don't know. It just makes less and less sense to me.
But guys, you won't have to pay for gas.
And you get a crab walk feature.
Oh, fuck's sake.
You can crab walk, dude. In a car.
Wait, speaking of features that nobody wants and everybody hates, Tristan, did you hear the redesigned G70 is going to have a drift stick? Or a drift mode, I should say?
Yeah. I did.
Oh, but why? I feel like
who thinks of getting in a G70? Be like, you know what I should do with this?
I think it's a classic, or I shouldn't say classic, an old-fashioned Hyundai overcorrect, where what they used to do back in the day, and even with like the Gen 1 Veloster, right? So the original Veloster came out. Everyone's like, oh, this car looks really cool, but it has no power. So they brought out the Turbo, Veloster Turbo.
Uh-huh.
It was like, oh, this is nice, but it's not a real track car. So then they made the R-Spec, and they overcorrected in the wrong area. So what people were saying about the G70 is, hey, this manual's really nice. This engine's really nice in the base model, but why can't you get the manual with the all-wheel drive? And so they went, well, we can't do that. So drift mode? It's kind of like with the Veloster. It's like, oh, well, we can't really make a track car. They weren't ready for it, right? Which is why the N came so much later. They weren't ready to make a real, like, racing level Veloster until years after the first one. So they just bumped up the power, 200 horsepower. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I think that's just something else that is in the ballpark of the original complaints. But they tend to miss when they do that, I think.
Yeah, I personally don't get the point of, maybe it's just old fashioned, but rear wheel drive car that you can either break the tires loose on or just e-brake, like why do we need these electronic assisted drift stick type stuff? I don't like it in anything. Not the RS, definitely not something like a G70.
Yeah, I just don't understand the purpose. Like, where are you utilizing this particular skill?
On the street, everyday driving. It's like launch control. I do it at every pedestrian crossing.
Mm-hmm. And you lurch forward about a half an inch just to keep the pedestrians guessing?
Well, of course. They got to know. They got to know that you're in charge. Here's something I want to talk about that's actually useful and helpful.
Okay.
The 2021 Veloster N has a price now, and it's a massive increase over the last one. So last Veloster N started at 28.5, 28.6, 28.5, 5.95. The 2021 starts at 33.2.
Ooh.
I think we saw that
$4,600.
coming, though.
I did, but you also get a lot more for it. So
That's
the
what I was
last
going to
one,
ask.
the last N didn't have any of the safety shit. You now get all of that: lane keep assist, collision avoidance, driver attention, blind spot, blah, 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 blah. So you get all of that, which you didn't get on the original N. They now all come with the upgraded engine, the upgraded LSD, the exhaust system, the big brakes in the 19-inch wheels. They also get something that appeals to me again directly. Illuminated N logos in the new seat headrests. Yes, please, and thank you. And the dual clutch also has a price, $1,500 over the base, bringing the total for the dual clutch to $34,700. Still less than a Civic Type R, about the same as a mid-tier GTI. And God damn it, as long as if this transmission is good, if this double clutch is good, I'm so torn between just moving heaven and earth to buy an N as quickly as possible and trying like hell to stick to my guns, because I can feel it in the very core of my being that a hybrid Veloster or some hybrid N car is right around the corner, and then I can truly have everything I want. But God damn it, do I love this car, every single thing about it. There's a bunch driving around the area now. There's a red one, a couple blue ones, a black one, a white one. I was actually admiring one, a red one driving down the road, the base model, so the 250 horsepower one that was driven by an older woman, much to my surprise. Maybe that's sexist, but I have, we kind of fell off this since we haven't been able to go out driving. But what I said before was that women were going to save the hot hatch. Clearly that campaign is still on. And I don't know. Every time I see one, it's like, oh shit, I should be driving that right now. Like right now.
What? Why are you in my car?
A little bit of that, but more I'm not even paying attention, right? And then these God rays strike down, and there it is. It just appears. They appear. They're not on the road. They're just not there, and then they appear, and I can't stop looking at them. I want it so bad.
So what's keeping you from trading in your current Veloster for the step up?
Because in my head, and I've talked about this in the podcast before, in my head, every time I've gotten a new car, I've increased power and fun. I've increased in terms of features, gotten more stuff in it. Mm-hmm. I've gotten better fuel economy, more power, and more functionality. And I feel that I have at least one more of those full upgrades before we get to basically like peak car, at which point the investment that you'd have to put out to get more of all of those things at the same time doesn't necessarily make it worth it. And this car would be an upgrade in a lot of those areas, but it would not be an upgrade in terms of efficiency. And I feel like it's compromising buying this car now. I feel at some level like it would be compromising at a time when I don't think that I should necessarily have to. Because if I take a look at the car market, right, while I may not necessarily believe in electrification as a full replacement for internal combustion cars, and I don't, what I do believe in is electrification as a means to an end, as a middle point. And like I said a couple weeks ago, the RAV4 Prime is 95% of the car I want, just as the N is. And if the first person, literally the first person to make a nice car that's a hatchback that has, a 50-mile MPG and 300 horsepower gets my money. Get my money. Someone please get my money. I don't know. Anything else feels like it just feels like it's the wrong time to settle for something that's so close, but not yet the right thing. Cause I feel like the right thing is around the corner.
That's fair. Hold out to get what you want. just seems like you want it so bad it could be a somewhat easy step up, not knowing anything about your financials. But
I do want it so bad.
Like it could be, it doesn't seem like it'd be that big a step. And then you can still hold out for that other one, but at least you're in something, like you're satisfying that want in the meantime. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's kind of the other thing, because already as I'm like nearing the end of the payments on this R-Spec, I'm like, all right, how can I keep this car so, as like a third car? And that I can say with absolute certainty. If I ever buy an N, I'm keeping it forever. And that's a problem because I don't have the garage space.
Yeah, which car gets kicked outside in that situation? You know it's not going to be Meg's.
I mean, you've seen my driveway. It's not. I don't live in a third car house, like not even tangentially. I'd have to rent a storage unit or something. And then we're just, what are we really doing? Then suddenly, somehow it gets a roll cage bolted in and it's a track day car. I don't know how it happened. Maybe I did it. It's just like there's a lot of rabbit holes here, but really the reason why I don't rush out, the first thing, obviously the first very low hurdle that needs to be cleared, is I need to hear that this double clutch transmission in the new N is good. I believe that it will be. And I also need to see how the K5 feels to drive, but even if both of those cars, obviously those would be the cars like I'd go and get if I were to get into a horrible accident, but I really am holding out for the first person to make the car that meets not just what I want with my heart, but what I know to be the right thing to wait for in my head.
Yeah,
You okay there, buddy?
No, I was
hit me with a sexy voice.
I was gonna start talking and then couldn't. But no, man, I get I get it, because as much as I did like the WRX and I value it for, teaching me how to drive a manual, like what I was really waiting for is the car I have. Really.
Right. Yeah. A wagon. But don't tell Subaru.
Right. And it was, it was just that much further away than I had hoped for. And I bought an interim car. And I didn't take a loss on it or anything, but it was a pain in the butt to, change it out. But, I guess that's the flip side, is either, you can say, hey, trust your gut feeling. If you think it's coming, wait a little while. Or especially if you get something desirable like an N, get one, drive it for a while, and if something comes out you want, just trade that in and move on. Especially if it's another N. Like if they make the next N hybrid or whatever. So I know you said you're keeping it forever, if you get one, but maybe that's what you let go of instead of
that would be
an N for N trade.
Yeah.
I don't know. I something's going to happen. Hyundai is moving too much, both in the motorsport sphere and in the electric performance sphere, for there not to be anything coming. I'm looking down the pipeline and I'm seeing they've already said, so they're making an N hybrid, or they're making an N version of the Tucson. They're also going to make a hybrid version of the Tucson. Those may be the same car. It may be a hybrid N Tucson. So there's that would be the place. That's their design leader. That's their market leader. And unlike a lot of companies, Hyundai will experiment with the Tucson before they experiment in other places, or the Sonata. So they're gonna do something, and not just them. Toyota, we know, already has the car coming out. They're using the Prime as their test, essentially. Will people buy this? Will they buy performance and efficiency in the same package? And we already know how that's going to go. The RAV4s, they sell fucking 5,000 of them every 30 seconds. We already know how that's going to end up. And you look across the globe, most of the companies started in Europe. They're on the doorstep. VW Group is on the doorstep with like 3 brands releasing hybrid performance cars. It's there.
I hate bringing it back up all the time. I do like it a lot. But I mean, if you look at my car, even like the 3.6R was not a huge seller, for the Outbacks. Basically, everybody bought a 2.5, and then, somebody who had aspirations of, going fast in my Outback bought the 3.6R. They cannot keep like any of the XT line in stock anywhere because it has more power and is more efficient than the 3.6R.
Right.
Because people want that combination of power and efficiency. That's where I was going with this.
Oh yeah. Well, of course, and Subaru's got something too. They're going to do something with their hybrid drive.
Something will be happening. Yes.
Soon and very soon. But God, obviously this new N looks no different than the old one, and I just love this car so much.
I love it so much.
I really do. Pining over it.
I am.
Does anybody else have anything before we take a quick break and dive into the main topic?
No, let's go for it.
Anybody want to talk about the new production car speed record?
Oh yeah, I suppose we should probably talk about that.
Tristan, did you see this? Have you heard about this?
I did. I don't know how to pronounce the name of the vehicle. Is it?
No one does.
Is it Tuatara or Tuatara?
It's the Twatra.
Twatra. That's what Andrew decided before you logged on. It was the Twatra. So, folks, if you didn't see or hear or read about it, we posted it on our Facebook page. The SSC Twatra was out on Highway 10 in Nevada earlier this week. No, it's pretty early in the week. Last week. And hit in a 7-mile stretch, went through the speed trap at 331 miles an hour. And it wasn't just a single direction. They turned around and they came back the other way. And I think the return trip was 320 something, which breaks the quote unquote production car speed record, even though these aren't in production yet. So I don't know how they can take that title, but 330.
They're going to produce them, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is. That's what it is. All they've got to do, I think, is produce 100. So they sell 100 of these. Yeah. And they're good.
If they make 100 of them, if they don't even sell them.
Right. So this kind of goes back to like along the same lines as the Hummer EV's crab walk, like features that nobody asked for or specs that nobody, like, you're never going to use this anywhere. What impressed me about it though, like, I'm not going to say I'm excited, but I did watch the video, and sorry, Andrew, it's a repeat from before Tristan logged on, but like Tristan, what impressed me about this was looking at from the in-car footage at the speedometer and at the tach. The car is pulling harder from 240 to 260 than our cars do going from 0 to 60. Like the endless acceleration and the endless like to infinity power band. The thing just never stopped pulling from when it first started all the way through the 7 miles at 330 miles an hour. Like all the way through the run, it never plateaued, which was just insane to me. And then the driver, who is Oliver Webb, for those of you in the know in the sports car scene, you might recognize the name. He races World Endurance Championship stuff and, at Le Mans and those types of things. He said the car had more in it. And if it wasn't for a crosswind, he would have had at least another 20 miles an hour out of it. So potentially a 350 mile an hour street legal car on our hands right now.
All right. So I've always had questions about SSC since the Ultimate Aero, because they are kind of a mystery company, right? They're the name that what kind of user ever brings them up? I don't know. No one ever brings them up, right? But occasionally they emerge from the mist after Bugatti does something, months after Bugatti does something, to say that they have a car that does the speed of light and whatever. But here's something that bothers me about the company. Can anyone bring to mind what one of their cars has looked like or what their logo looks like?
No, besides the Twatro, which I'm looking at right now.
I know
couldn't even
their
tell you.
logo is. I know their logo is some kind of shield. I remember that from Forza. But
They were in
so
Forza?
Yeah.
I don't even remember that. Huh.
Yeah.
Learn something every day.
Shield.
But for me, the and maybe this is like a ticky tack problem to have or something, but I just don't understand.
Yeah, it's like a checkerboard blue and white shield.
That is interesting. I just don't get how they can in my mind feign at being hypercar manufacturers when I've never seen a toy of it. I've never seen video evidence of it short of what the company has produced. You never even see a poster. They could basically not exist as they do for 98% of the time, other than the car that they show in a video. Like, they say it's a production car, great, but you don't even see them on Mecum. No one mentions them. They're not in tweets. They're outside of company controlled media. They just don't exist. I honestly think that Elon Musk looks at the way SSE does media with his dick rock fucking hard. If he could have that much control over their product and media, he would love it. They're just like a mystery to me. Maybe I'm not looking in the right places.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm on their page right now trying to find, like, do they have a location?
I don't know. They're just,
what is their address?
They have a showroom in Dubai. And they're based in Richland, Washington.
I just bet.
Okay.
All right. I mean,
Anyway.
I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but they seem like the car equivalent of the Phantom game console. That's a reference that Tristan will understand.
Phantom console,
baby. We're still waiting. I don't know. Good for them. Hey, they drove their car that might be a production car. It might not. Oh, that's the other thing. No one ever mentions SSE as a dream car. No one. Koenigsegg, yes. You see Koenigsegg, they show you inside the factory. They show you the man who's fucking hand weaving individual fibers of carbon together for the hoods. SSE, nothing. Not a Hot Wheels.
We've made a car, probably, according to this one story that we broke about beating the speed record. That's it.
Very, very odd. At least it's on video this time.
What's your deal, SSC?
Yeah. Anyways,
let's take a break and start building our dream garages. What do you say, guys?
Sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back, everybody. Hey, we're back, everybody, and we're about to get into tonight's topic, which is building dream garages with parameters. But before we do that, we'd like to remind you how to get a hold of us if you feel so inclined. We do have our very own website. It is checkenginepodcast.com. And there we have an email address. You can send something to inbox@checkenginepodcast.com. We're also on all the major socials. If you go to Facebook and search Check Engine Podcast, you will land on our page. How about that? Andrew, where can they find us on Twitter?
At Check Engine Pod.
And Tristan, where can they find us at our sporadic Instagram page?
Also at Check Engine Pod. I had something for you guys recently. You should keep paying attention.
Yep, just keep your eyes peeled. You never know when
that's
we'll pop
the fun
up on
part.
Instagram.
It's just impossible when you don't go anywhere.
Yeah. I went on vacation, and even the nature of that vacation, it was like one post.
There'll be more coming. We promise. He says again. So be sure to like, follow, share, post, DM, however you want to reach out and get a hold of us. You can ask us questions to answer on the air. You can let us know what you like or dislike. You can give us topic ideas. You can participate in some of our challenges that we do on the shows here. So, for instance, folks, let us know how you would build your garage with a maximum of 1,000 horsepower and or a maximum of 12 cylinders all in. So thanks in advance. Now, to get back to the show, before we dive into this really quick, is something I forgot to mention earlier on, so I'm going to get out of the way real quick. I mentioned at the top of every episode that we're streamed worldwide.
Yes.
As proof of that, last week we have just charted in our third different country, which is so awesome. So hello and thank you to all our friends in the Great White North up in Canada. And I guess a special thank you to our significant others, because our interview with wives, fiancés, and girlfriends charted number 32 on Apple Podcasts in Canada last week. So hooray us.
Hell yeah, man. I don't even know how that happens.
It blows my mind. I get this.
I don't even know, man.
I don't. We must get caught up in the algorithm, right?
Must at some point. We just
almost
get
always
that undertow. But like I get the email notification from this website that tracks all this kind of stuff, and it's like, hey, you charted in Canada. I'm like, what?
Love it.
So
it's Canada too, by the way.
Oh, Canada is amazing. Can't wait to go back to Canada.
Would love to go back. That's the first. Honestly, that might be the first place I want to go. Canadian Tire.
Yeah, I would be okay with that. I would not argue.
As soon as they're letting Americans back in.
Whenever they decide to do that.
As soon as you let me go, I'll go, Canada.
Canada, just know it's not our fault.
That's right.
So yeah, it's US, which was last year with our Father's Day episode. And then out of literally nowhere, we have charted in Mongolia.
Hey.
And now Canada. So 3 down, couple hundred more to go before world domination.
There's mad countries.
There is. Now, anyway, with that out of the way, Andrew, let's kick this off. Dream Garage builds with certain limits or boundaries we got to stay within.
Let's start with the cylinders. Now let's have a little fun here. As this was the original post by whatever esteemed journalist or non-esteemed journalist made it.
Somebody.
Someone. Like I said, my bad. I failed to screen cap the original tweet. So whoopsie. And obviously everybody knows I'm just going to go with a whole gang of 4-cylinder cars because I happen to like them a lot.
So hit us with your first one then.
So the first one, I mean, I won't, now that I know that, you know, the DCTN is coming out, it's real. I won't adjust my list to add that in there, but it probably would be in there now. What I did see the other day is an A45 AMG, the American version. And it reminded me of just how much I actually liked the real version of that car that they got in Europe. And by the way, 2-liter engine, 416 horsepower.
Yum.
That has to be the most insane shit to drive. It's the size of my car, basically. And that's just got to scream. I would love to drive that. Next, a classic, a car that for some reason I'd almost forgotten about. And one of my probably favorite cars of all time, a Lotus Exige, specifically the S. There's just something about the Exige. It looks a little silly. It looks a little almost like homemade, but I feel like it's classically cool.
I've always been interested in at least just like a bucket list thing, drive a Lotus.
Definitely.
Just borrow somebody's or rent one at one of those, if they have them in the inventory, one of those like extreme track day things, and just to see. Yeah. Because you just hear about how nimble they are, about how, you're not going to get straight line speed, but comparatively speaking, but what corners, what brake zones,
Right, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, that's the thing about it. Also, I think when I think of the name Exige, I remember the first time I ever saw one actually in person, and it was when I was doing my study abroad. We were in the Black Forest in Germany. We just stopped at like this beautiful forest lake, And outside in the parking lot, there weren't that many cars, but there was one white with green stripe Exige. And I was just like, oh my God, that is amazing. Like open top, of course, you're in the Black Forest. It's like some of the most beautiful topography in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then this car is just like in the middle of it, looking absolutely beautiful. It looked like weirdly almost part of the environment, right? Because the white was so crisp and the like forest green stripes is like, oh shit, that is amazing. And, how you first see a car is a big part of how you remember it, I think. So that one really sticks out to me.
I've one more quick Lotus thing. I ran through almost, I can't remember if it was Gran Turismo 3 or 4. It was one of the PS3 Gran Turismo games, and I ran through pretty much that entire game with a Lotus Elise. Instead of buying new cars, I just kept souping it up, because when I first drove it on the game, it handled so well. I'm like, this is it. I don't need anything else. I'm just going to add more power and wings and rims and make this thing really wicked, and I'm going to beat McLarens with it. And I did.
I love that. And then it's always so annoying when you get to like the skill cap of that car or whatever, and you're like, shit. Yeah, I gotta buy something new. And then you look at all the options, it's like, it's just not the same.
It's not damn it.
Nick, that was like in Forza, we had that Scirocco.
Yes, the car you start the game with.
In the first Horizon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I drove that car to, I don't know, really, really, really far into the game.
Yeah.
That's a great game.
Fun. Anyway, Andrew, I'm guessing you have 4 cylinders to go.
I do, and so obviously I'm going to pick another 4-cylinder. And I wanted to get something weird, right? Because this is one thing I always think about in dream car scenarios. Obviously, a 400 horsepower hatchback, that's just practical. That's everyday driving. An Exige, that's your weekend car. But if you have a dream car garage, you need like brute practicality. And so you're down to SUV or truck. Not that exciting, but there is one that I'm interested in because it's a truck that in the previous generations I've actually liked. The new Ranger has a 4-cylinder option that makes 270 horsepower and 310 foot-pounds of torque. Okay, I'm actually on board for that because those numbers roughly approximate the original generation 3-liter V6, like the iron block V6 in the original.
That Vulcan.
Yeah, which was a great engine because if you loaded the entire back of the Ranger with shit, you could put your foot down and it would go somewhere. That seems like enough for me. If this can do that, hey, and also it can actually do some stuff off road. Like it's a real truck, and it's really the only option in this category. That has more than like 100 foot-pounds of torque. And if you're trucking it, you gotta have a little something. So that's what I'd go with.
I was wondering if you were going to add a little more practicality into it. I mean, the hatchback, I guess, could be a daily.
Oh yeah, 410 horsepower. That's light.
Yeah,
no problem.
So, but I'm like, okay, where's he going to go with this? Well, I get it, man. It's close to what I got to.
Well, all right, let's hear it.
Well, just as like I also in one of my slots added a truck / SUV. So we'll dive into it, right? As I mentioned, this could go a lot of different ways. You could either go V12, one car and be done. If it is a dream car garage, but I think the 3 of us on this podcast are all a little more practical and try to be a little more realistic about it. And I think our audience is too. So that's kind of where I went with this, like thinking, okay, I live in Wisconsin. As I'm looking like very slowly and surely potentially scoping out interests in houses, like 3-car garage is something that I want very much. So let's fill up all 3 spots with some cool stuff. So like Andrew, I went with 4-cylinder cars across the board to fill up a 3-car garage. Now, car number 1 is one that is very familiar to one of my co-hosts. Is going to be a WRX STI.
Hey.
Turbocharged 4, over 300 horsepower, 6-speed manual, 4 doors, all-wheel drive for the winter. I mean, complete package, right?
Of doors.
It has 4s of doors. So, I mean, it's got the fun factor. It's got the styling and the sporty, rally car vibe to it. But it can handle the elements that we get here, where we live. So, I think that's a no-brainer. I also wanted to do, like Andrew, I wanted to do a weekend sporty car, summertime car, if you will. And C7s have too many cylinders.
It's true.
As do Ferraris and all those other things. In that category, up in that echelon or in that level. So I turn to what you guys may think from me as like an unlikely answer, but I am going with, for my weekend driver sport car, the Mustang EcoBoost Premium.
I wondered if someone was going to do that.
Classic, quote unquote, American muscle. It is the 4-cylinder EcoBoost gets, like the Subaru, just north of 300 horsepower, 310 horsepower. Plus, it's the Mustang, right? Like, it's a legendary car. Didn't it make our finals in the iconic car bracket?
It did. Well, I think it was the winner, wasn't it?
I thought the Beetle won.
The Beetle did win. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, but it beat the Mustang.
Yes, it did.
So that would be my second car. And then, much like Andrew again, I have a go-kart trailer that I'm towing around. I need something to tow, so I was needed to look for a light truck / SUV. The 4-cylinder trucks don't usually have a lot of oomph behind it for towing, but we just put a maximum on the cylinders. We didn't say type of engine. So Chevrolet makes a Colorado Z71 Midnight Edition that is a 4-cylinder diesel.
Hey, there you go.
So I keep it within the cylinder parameters of this episode and also get well over 300 foot-pounds of torque and up to 7,000 pounds in towing capacity, which is 2.5 of my go-kart trailers fully laden. So more than enough. So that's my garage. The WRX STI, the Mustang EcoBoost Premium, and the Colorado Z71 Midnight Edition diesel 4-cylinder. 3 4-cylinder vehicles, 12 cylinders, out the door.
Love it.
All right, so I will definitely say well done choosing the diesel, because I also have one of those on my list. I unfortunately built part of this around an awkward bastard of a number of cylinders. So there's going to be some improvisation here. So we'll get there. But number one on my list was the RS3.
Oh, mistake.
Which unfortunately has 5 cylinders.
Now, you don't have to use all of the cylinders either. That's the other thing. You don't have to use them all.
But I did.
Someone bought a Beetle Blast.
we will get to how and why at the end of this. So that's 5 cylinders, right up there. About 400 horsepower, give or take. What year, etc. And much like the STI, it was the all-wheel drive. Because we live where there's snow, and I didn't go with like a TTRS because I wanted more or less, Andrew, like your quote, a daily driver, 400 horsepower daily driver, no worries, right?
Gotta have it.
So that was the kind of start of all of this, and that's it started, and that's where it went wrong.
Whoops.
But I wanted it, so I made do. And then I also put the Ram 1500 Eco Diesel, the Rebel edition. That's like you said, Nick, it limits the cylinders. It's not the 4-cylinder truck that you guys had going, but I'm still gonna get 3 vehicles out of this, so I wasn't too worried about trying to find some 3-cylinder car or something to match. So the same, huge amounts of torque, in the Rebel trim, fair amount of off-road capability, and actually pretty good efficiency, depending on whether you believe those liars or not, on the EPA cycle. So that's the utility. Utility / daily driver if there's ever over 4 inches of snow. And then to round it all out, after cylinder number 11 in the Ram, to get to cylinder number 12, I'm actually choosing a motorcycle to fill that gap.
Yeah.
KTM 790 Adventure R Rally.
Jesus.
Bit of a word salad, but it is a very well respected kind of adventure bike from KTM, but they base those all more on it's KTM. It's actually they're a dirt bike company more or less. So although they're adventure bikes, it's narrow saddles, you can reach the ground, that type of thing. 6-speed sequential gearbox, 280 miles of range, 9,000 mile service interval on the engine. So they do intend you to, at least in that regard, take things as far as you need to go. I found this initially, and the PDF I have saved is from the international website, which unfortunately notices. I notice now the power comes in kilowatts, not horsepower. But it didn't really matter to me, as we're not really working on horsepower in this one. But it is I did the conversion, and it's like 94 brake horsepower out of a single cylinder engine.
That's a fucking banger. Jesus.
Damn.
Yeah. Dual counterbalancing shafts, so yeah. But apparently it's
like a cylinder, like a coffee can.
Yeah. It is but apparently because it's got the counterbalancers and everything else, it's doesn't vibrate too badly.
Bullshit. Fucking bullshit.
I said too badly. I was reading the not KTM's website. I was reading the actual review from Cycle Mag, and they're like, yeah, it's a big single, it's a thumper, and they have a quality to them, but this makes as much hand rattling noise as bikes with half this displacement.
It's not that. It's just it's gonna idle like you're humping a shotgun. Boom, boom, boom.
Yep. So,
and episode title.
You just gotta idle it in neutral with your hand on the throttle about halfway up. Smooth it.
Exactly.
Smooth it right out.
Oh man!
And I can't believe that nobody nobody thought of using the infinite money cheat that would be choosing electric cars because they have 0 cylinders.
I thought of that, and then I thought, actually, I don't want any of these.
Same. Like I could, but I'm not dreaming of any of them.
No,
So-
I'm really not.
They're not-
I do look forward. Actually, I do like the look of the Rimac C2, and I am
Oh,
looking
yeah.
forward to how Audi is going to do with the their version of the Taycan, the e-tron GT, not the SUV, because if you like that kind of SUV, it doesn't look too bad. I'm curious as to what the car will look like, so that one will have to wait to cheat its way into my garage later once we see what it looks like.
Right. Yeah. Maybe in the future. All right. Number 2, 1,000 horsepower max. Now, maybe I should explain this a little bit. I initially started by saying, all right, let's do something silly. Let's start with a Viper. Then I was like, well, 600 horsepower is maybe a bit much. 600 out of 1,000 it doesn't get you a whole lot. So I kind of cast my mind about and tried to think of something that I would actually dream about, but wouldn't think about. And that's when I stumbled upon a small sort of unregarded car brand called Mini.
Ooh.
And of course, I would never buy a Mini because they have all the reliability problems and expensive BMWs, but the Polos look stupid. So if you didn't know, and I did not know, the Clubman All Fours now make 300 horsepower, which is awesome. And Tristan, both of us, I love the Clubman.
Yes, I do.
But I would never, ever buy one. But this is a dream scenario. Now they make a Clubman All Four with 300 horsepower, which I think is amazing. I would absolutely do some sort of ridiculously low quality paint job on it or sticker job. So it was like some sort of ambulance. I don't know. I'm not all the way there on that. But so that's 301 of my horsepower. Then next, if I do that, I can actually fit in a true dream car that we talked about in the, Design Your Dream Garage episode with the 460 horsepower Viper GT2 road car. And that is a car that it's the white and blue one, right? The one to celebrate the Le Mans race. Mm-hmm. Only 100 made. I've never even seen a picture. Funnily enough, the Wikipedia article on this car uses a picture of the model that I have. They don't even have a picture of the car in Creative Commons. It's that rare.
Jeez.
And then, all right, so that's a goodly chunk of the horsepower. So
you are at 761. I'm keeping track of the math.
I am. So here is where I used the electric car cheat. Oh. And selected the RAV4 Prime because that engine is only 176 horsepower.
I don't think that we can get away with electric horsepower not counting.
Why not?
Because it's horsepower.
It's still horsepower.
But the engine only makes
but the
173
car,
of it.
The car itself.
The garage will contain that many horsepower.
You don't count the horsepower that's created by the battery in a regular car. What's different here?
The horsepower in a regular car isn't made by the starter battery.
but what if it was?
Then we would count it.
And we would add it.
There's something in there. It adds a little bit.
Not when the car is moving.
Yes, it does, Andrew. My Mustang EcoBoost now has 310 and a quarter horsepower.
Exactly. See, there you go. There you go. Fine. But I would still take the RAV4 Prime in a dream garage simply because that's like the one I have to know.
So what is the all-in horsepower on the RAV4 Prime?
I thought the electrical system was plus 59 horsepower. I'll have to check.
Okay, so 176.
It may be more than that.
Say 160. So you still made it under. Because all in, it's
total
like,
system. Total system's actually 302. Wow, 302. Shit.
oh, you're over.
Oh,
302.
plus.
59 is from the front axle. Wow.
A lot of hair splitting here.
Electric cars are crazy. Fine. I don't care. I'm sticking with it. Fuck y'all.
Well, you're disqualified, but whatever.
Don't care. Not interested. Electric horsepower doesn't count.
It
See,
totally
that's the
counts.
thing. No. Because here's the thing. Here's another reason. As if all those other reasons weren't good enough. They're just guessing. They don't actually know. They just estimate that. It's estimated horsepower, like estimated fuel economy.
I don't
That's
think
not true, by the way. That's not true at all.
I don't think it is. I just think you're disqualified.
Fair enough.
Electric horsepower doesn't count. It actually doesn't have cylinders. It actually does have horsepower.
It's a bespoke system. You could remove it and the car wouldn't be materially changed, so it doesn't count, therefore.
But it also would have less horsepower.
Would you buy it without it in there? Would you buy 100 and some horsepower RAV4?
No, hell no.
Yeah, it does
No.
materially change it, ass.
That's all you're getting from me. I'm not changing shit.
All right, fine. Moving on.
I have a lot. Do you want me to do them?
Okay, yeah.
A lot for 1,000 horsepower?
I do.
All right, go for it.
Because Dream Garage, as we talked about when we were actually physically constructing our Dream Garages, can often contains other things, toys and motorcycles and that kind of thing. So I'm going to actually work from my lowest horsepower numbers to my highest horsepower numbers.
There we go.
The lowest coming in at 62 horsepower. The Mahindra Roxor, which I know is not currently being imported, but I'm sure you could steal one from somebody who owns one or bribe them out of it, whatever. Buy it for 80 times what it's worth. This is a Dream Garage thing. I can get my hands on one.
Yep.
So, they are rumored to be revealing a new one for 2021, 2022 that will not look like a Jeep CJ. I'm not interested in that. I want the one that looks like a Jeep CJ. So that's number one. The number two at 68 horsepower is the Thruxton 900 Ace Cafe edition.
There we go. I was waiting for something from Triumph.
That's the Mo-Geigle option there. And then this one falls on two sides depending on which year you get it. It's either 177 or 190. I think I'm going to need it to be the 177 version to get in under the horsepower number, so it's going to have to be one of the earlier ones, but that does not materially change the nature of this. It's a first generation 4-door XJ Cherokee.
Okay.
With if I can get one, or like you said, Andrew, a nice sticker job. It was funny that you mentioned that. Get a U.S. National Park Service or a Forest Service replica paint scheme.
Ah, very good.
And then one coming in at 188, and how all of these are related. This is my camper van, the Winnebago Revel.
Oh, God.
Which has a turbo diesel at 188 horsepower and many torques, and 5,000 pound towing capacity. That then you can put the Roxor and the Thruxton or the XJ on it and take it on vacation. It is one of their more outdoor focused ones. However, it's pretty interchangeable with very many of the similar travel vans. I just found one that I happen to like a little more than the others, because they're all based on that same 188 horsepower Sprinter platform if you have the diesel option. So a lot of technically you could choose any number. I choose the Winnebago Revel. And then the Audi TT first generation Aviator Gray, Andrew,
There
like
we
you
go.
said, a callback to our physically build your dream garage and fill it list. I believe that was on there. If not, it's been on many of my other lists. It's an old standby. The Jeep could have more horsepower if we take it away from this one, but I figure give it to the sports car, so this will be the 222 horsepower version versus the 190, which was in the earlier generations. And then, actually, of all things, the highest horsepower number on this list, I'm actually going to include my current vehicle.
Really?
There you go.
Yep. Like I said, Andrew, like I earlier on, we were talking about, what do? Do you get the N now, etc. I was waiting for exactly this car. I literally tried to move heaven and earth to get this car, and I'm not getting rid of it because I like it that much. So it gets to stay, and that's at 260.
There you go. By the way,
for the listeners who don't remember, your current car is
a Subaru Outback Onyx XT.
Outback Onyx XT.
Again, without changing the heart and soul on the game, you could also make it the limited or the touring or whatever. That doesn't change horsepower. It just depends on if you want leather seats or not. But I like the all blacked out Onyx edition, so I'll keep it.
Here's one more argument as to why electric horsepower isn't real.
Well,
wait,
okay. The math, Andrew's going to try to prove his point.
Tristan, you came in at 977.
Yep. So,
but no, I'm serious.
Horsepower to spare. Or
I have
one electric motor.
So how much horsepower to spare?
23.
Ooh.
So then I could get the 190 horsepower XJ.
There you go.
There you go.
It's only 13 more. We'll take it.
There you go. Andrew, anyway, you're trying to
here's
waste
this is
time. How?
All right. No, this isn't a waste of time. This is proof of concept. Here we go. So here are the specs for the car. A 2.5 liter, 176 horsepower engine, plus 179 horsepower, something front, plus 53 horsepower rear. For those playing the home game, that is far more than 302 horsepower. In fact, any combination of these numbers, 176, 179, and 53, will never equal 302. So clearly, no one knows how much power this makes, and therefore, I am right that electric horsepower should not count.
Yeah, but they still list
I would argue
the all-in horsepower.
Right, and it counts. I would argue it counts more because because
it double counts
because they have to limit how much horsepower is coming out of that motor when it's not an EV only mode, or you get massive torque steer or wheel spin or whatever. That's what's happening. It's a front wheel drive, modestly all wheel drive vehicle when you're running in EV only mode, and then when you're running in hybrid mode with the engine on, you're not tapping all the horsepower out of that front axle.
All right, so here's the breakdown. 177. Okay. This just does not make sense. These numbers don't make sense. So basically what they do, I'm reading the Drive article here. So they essentially guess at the horsepower that they don't guess at. They choose the horsepower they want to get out of the electric motor in the front and then put another one on the rear, and they computer control it to make 302 total. So they basically the official numbers give the electric components only in kilowatts, not in specific horsepower.
Okay.
So that is why, yet another reason why electric horsepower is not real.
No, it's still real. It can still be measured.
As we discussed with the KTM, kilowatts are equal to horsepower.
My point is proven.
1 kilowatt equals 1.34 horsepower. So, my point is proven. Your kilowatts actually more than count as horsepower.
No, these are electric kilowatts. It's like dry cup and fluid cup. They're just not the same. They're just different. They're just different somehow. Only Alton Brown knows.
They're different somehow. Only Alton Brown knows.
Yeah, ask him. He knows.
Oh, you're right, Andrew. I'm convinced.
Shut up, Nick. You don't know what we're talking about. It is weird, though. The calculation is quite bizarre.
Yeah,
Nick,
but
you're up next.
Yeah, I know. Just argue all you want. You're disqualified. You went over the top.
Hater.
Hater.
He hates the environment. That's what's going on.
No, it's nothing against the RAV4 Prime. It's a very interesting vehicle. If you had toned down your horsepower somewhere else, it would have worked perfectly.
I will
never. All right, so mine is a little bit simpler. For Tristan had 30 cars or different vehicles or whatever he just listed off.
It was 6
or 30. I had
24 electric cars that didn't count. So
that's true. You don't have to count them.
The electric cars are silent.
It's true.
If they sneak up on you and you don't see them, the horsepower doesn't count.
You want to know why? That's fucking right. Magnets, man. How do they work? No one knows. But it gets right down to it.
Anyway, so I have 2 cars that actually total 956 horsepower all in.
C7 and
no.
Oh shit!
My first thought was a C7 ZR1, and then I looked at the horsepower figure and I said I cannot get anything else worth anything if I have that. In my garage.
A ZR1 and a bicycle.
Basically,
what was the ZR1? What did the ZR1 have?
The ZR1 was like 760.
Oh shit!
Yeah. So it puts me at a major disadvantage for my second garage stall, which is all I'm going to get, let's face it, unless I do a bunch of KTMs. So, again, what gives me less horsepower than that, but still good fun, and could also be practical for daily driving, et cetera, et cetera. It's had a really good run the last month or so of CEP episodes because I'm bringing it back up again. The RS6 Avant.
Okay.
591 horsepower. All-wheel drive, so it can, again, handle the elements. It's a wagon, so you can load the kiddos or all the groceries or whatever, fold the seats down and put lumber in there, do, all that kind of stuff.
Lumber.
And let me reiterate, 591 horsepower. So it's going to be fun. So again, that leaves me with 409 horsepower left over for my next vehicle. And I didn't quite get there, but I went with, now, then this is, I guess we have to say previous gen now, which I can't believe already because they haven't been out that long. But it's got to be not the 2021, it's got to be the 2020 or before Genesis G80. And it's going to be the 3.3 T Sport.
Oh, right, because you hate the looks of the new one.
Yeah, the new one sucks.
It's not a horsepower question. It's just a looks question.
It's a looks question. It's an aesthetic question. So the G80 3.3 T Sport comes in at 365 horsepower. Again, all-wheel drive. Surprisingly, not the greatest amount of fuel mileage. I thought I'd get better than that, but whatever. 17 city, 25 highway. But always, what was it? Freaking before this podcast even started, the trip down to VIR, I think, is where I first saw one on the road, and I've just wanted one ever since. Like, it's just such a cool luxury car for not necessarily a luxury car price. As we've talked about before, the Hyundai Kia group does that with everything they make. They just give you stuff for the money. And
you give me money, I give you stuff.
Lots of stuff, more stuff than you probably deserve. So yeah, it's pretty simple. I want one. So it's going to be the RS6 Avant and the 2020 prior edition Genesis G80.
That is a surprise. I did not expect those. I did not expect those to be the selection.
Again, first thing I went to gut check, Andrew, when I started researching this was C7 ZR1. Because I know I've brought that up before for our other Dream Garage episodes too. Like, it has the Sebring orange package that matches the color of our show, and it would be perfect. But if we're talking about trying to maximize horsepower a little bit in terms of filling out a garage, it just wouldn't be smart.
That is true. Definitely. I have not thought of any other reasons why electric horsepower doesn't count.
Because it does count.
No updates?
Well, I think magnets is probably the strongest one. How do they work? You can't tell. No one knows.
Nope.
Oh, God.
Anybody got anything else, or do we want to get the listeners out of here?
I only have things that in no way relate to cars, so let's get out of here.
Well, that's not what this show is about, so I'm going to end it. Our last episode, as fun as it was a super long one, so we'll give folks a break this time. How's that sound?
I think that was probably our best episode ever. Is the problem I'm actually having with that one?
I'm not saying it wasn't a good episode.
I think we might have peaked, is what I'm saying.
We know one more.
Obviously, Canada thinks so.
That's right. They're never wrong.
Yeah. So, as fun as it was, as awesome as it was kind of a marathon. So we'll get you out of here early, folks. Thanks for sticking with us. We appreciate you listening, but we don't want you just to listen. We want to interact with you. We already mentioned how to find us online and on all the socials. So get in touch. What did you like about this episode? What did you not like? You have 1,000 horsepower or you have 12 cylinders to fill a Dream Garage. What would you put in it? Let us know. Also, if wherever you're streaming from, there's probably an option to leave us a review. Take a second and go ahead and do that for us. That'd be great. Or hit that subscribe button. It's free, and you'll get notified of any new content that we put out. If you're really into what we're doing and you'd like to support us monetarily, you have two options for that as well. You can go to patreon.com/checkenginepodcast or find the support button at anchor.fm/checkenginepodcast. It's right at the top of the page next to our logo. Every cent pledge is put towards making this podcast a better experience for you, the listener, and none of it goes back into our pockets personally. This is a passion project, not a money-making project for us. We say that week in and week out. So if you do decide to do that, thank you so much. Gentlemen, who or what are we giving a special shout out to before we sign off?
Oh, shit, I forgot to think of one.
Should we circle back to you?
Yes.
All right, Tristan.
I would like to thank my family in a few different ways. My sister for going and living the dream. She's wanted to work in opera since she started studying it, and now runs her own opera company with all of the struggles and everything that entails, but she's still keeping at it, finding wonderful artists and putting on cool stuff like galas. I didn't think I'd ever get to go to a gala, certainly not of one that was run by a family member. And I'd like to thank my parents for being incredibly supportive of both her and me in all of this, podcasting stuff, be it watching the dogs or, for a while there, having it be a place that we could, have our recording sessions, or providing logistical support for Road America trips, whatever that might be. And Jessica for just being a good sport. So, there was a lot of vacation going on over this last week, but there was also a lot of work being supportful of this gala, and that was not anything that she needed to do. It was something that she chose to do. So thank you to my family.
Well, that's
very
nice.
good. Andrew, do you want me to go, or have you thought of something?
No, I got one. I, as hard as it is to do this, because we don't really talk about our real jobs here, so we can avoid power leveling as much as possible. And I try to keep the two worlds as separate as possible, but there's something big that's going to change at work, my work, coming up real soon. And the amount of effort that's gone into planning for what we have to do has been immense. I mean, it's literally been months since March. Essentially, we've been planning for what we're going to have to do in November, and well, at the end of this month as well. So basically, we have funny you should mention gala, Tristan's. We have our a gala coming up at the end of the month, and then big into November. While I have a lot of work to do, while I do and have worked a lot towards these goals, it's basically my workload significantly reduces once we get into November's, and everybody else's increases by multiples. It may be exponents, the amount that their work is going to increase. So I just want to thank all the people I work with for the work that they do, because there's never been a harder time to have their jobs. And I just really hope they don't burn out, because they've given a lot already and their jobs are about to get a lot harder for a long time.
Sobering thought, but definitely appreciate the effort getting put in. I'm going to end with, I know I've done a couple of these in a row now, but I guess I just got to do one more. I feel compelled. Excuse me, a rather melancholy shout out. By now, when we're recording this, it's not breaking news anymore, but I want to step outside the car world by a long way, and I want to give a shout out to Eddie Van Halen. Andrew, you've picked up guitar recently. Tristan, you've tried to play from time to time here and there. I've been.
You don't need to include me in the player.
No, I'm saying
I can appreciate Eddie Van Halen without playing guitar.
Tristan, you were there too, I'm sure.
I've picked up a guitar a couple times.
There's one in your bedroom at your parents' house, right?
Yes, it's actually since been moved to the music room in an effort that I may ever pick it up and try again.
So the point is, the three of us have all had some sort of experience with guitar. None of us are good, I would venture to say, but we have all been influenced, whether we know it or not, by Eddie Van Halen. Whether it be a drill you're working on, if it's just, you might just be running a scale. That was something that Eddie made famous, probably. You didn't even know. When Van Halen released their first album in 1978, I think it was, 78, the Eruption solo was, 100 seconds that changed the way guitar was played basically forever, especially in rock and roll. It was ahead of its time then, obviously, and even 40 plus years later, it still is. There's so many things that he does that people still struggle to replicate and try to match, much less surpass. So it was a huge, huge loss for the world of music to lose Eddie Van Halen. So just wanted to say thanks, Eddie, for what you did for the music industry and for guitar players of every skill level out there, which none of them matched yours, in my opinion. So thanks, Eddie, for all your contributions. And as always, thank you, listeners, for your continued support. We love hearing from you. We love recording this for you, and we cannot wait to speak to you again. Until then, take care.